Yo, yo, yo. Welcome everybody back in, man. It's been back to back to back to back since Friday, man. And this is a special one. I know we've been in the talks to get something like this moving and cranking for a little bit. And actually somebody that's from my neck of the woods from the DMV, the governor of college football is on to chop it up about, everything college football. Everybody knows if anything's my bread and butter, it's definitely that, man. It is what we like to call the epitome of our sport. It doesn't, it starts in high school, but college football is where most of the informed opinions that come from us before these guys get to the NFL come from. And it's a shame that people don't follow it more. But today's gonna be a banger. So without further ado, Governor, Mr. Governor.
What's happening, Playboy? How you living?
Man, I can't complain, man. I've been looking forward to this one for a minute now, and as soon as I hit the DM, you said let's lock it in.
Let's do it, man. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah. So with that being said, everybody knows this is a series that I brought back from a couple years ago, where I bring some of my favorite content creators in, and some of the respect that I have for a lot of you guys out there. You're constantly cranking out content as well, and the grind is real, man. The grind is definitely real, and everybody that I've brought on so far, I think they should have 10,000, 20, 30, 100,000 subscribers at this point, and I think we all gonna get there. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We're gonna be noticed after so long, but as far as the aspect of what you do, how you got started, and most importantly, how you got into college football, let's get to know you a little bit.
Well, college football, I've always been a fan of college football. Like it started, of course, with NFL. I'm a Buffalo Bill fan. I've been a Buffalo Bill fan a lot older than I look. I appreciate my youthful look, but it started with the Buffalo Bills.
I felt the same way. I'm 35. People think I'm like in my 20s still.
Right. We're the same age range, bro. So it started being a Bills fan, and then I remember when my dad, my love for sports come from my dad. And he'll be watching games on Saturday. He was like, my dad's weird. He like Ohio State and Notre Dame, and that's my Howard.
Mix them two together. That's weird.
You can. It's weird, but that's my dad. Diehard Cowboy fan, but college like Ohio State, Notre Dame, and I remember seeing Desmond Howard return the kick, and that's how I started, bro. Like that. Yeah. Seeing him hit the Heisman pose, like that was the intro for my show for forever when I first started. So my love for college football happened back then. That's my Howard, bro.
What's funny? You talk about Notre Dame, and all of us have our little disdain for Notre Dame for not actually joining the conference. Like, I think that's collectively around the nation. Unless you're a Notre Dame fan, you're okay with what's going on. But funny enough, a lot of people ask me who did I model my game after in high school, and I was like Brady Quinn. Ooh. I don't know what it was. But Brady Quinn was cold, man.
He was cold. Nah, Brady Quinn was like that. He's forgotten about, but he was like that. They had a nice wide receiver room too.
Yeah. So, mine didn't start then, but before that, I'm a Florida State fan, and it's funny that I like Florida teams because the Jacksonville Jaguars are my other team, and it's all for different reasons. Like, I was telling everybody the story, like Mark Brunell was a left-handed quarterback. I was left-handed growing up, and I tend to, I know Steve Young was in the league then too, but that's who I watched first, and I was like, oh man, that's cool that there's a left-handed quarterback, and I started rooting for the Jaguars. And then Florida State, my dad was telling me the story. We were at a game, and I was like, I guess I was a little boy. He's like, oh, who's that little Indian dude down there? This is when we used to bring the mascots to other people's stadiums. You know what I'm saying? And ever since then, it was always Garnet and Gold for me. So, it has a little bit of meaning for me, from that aspect. But outside of that, college football, the pageantry, the rivalries that we have, the Ohio State versus Michigan. I wish they could bring them, the Miami versus Florida back. Sucks that we're losing to Notre Dame and USC. That was one of the many ones that we always look forward to as well. But, what was that, what's a game that you always remember? Like if you had to turn on the TV right now and you got the VHS tapes, what's that one game that you would say you got to watch this one? And this is what college football is all about. Is there any one of those games that stick out of your mind over the years?
For sure. It's a couple. Nebraska versus Florida national championship with Tommy Frazier. Breaks that, what was it, like a 70-yard run? It was like an impossible run. He broke so many tackles on it. That's one of those plays. Or I think the greatest game that I've seen in my lifetime, USC versus Texas. I think it was the 2005 season, but technically January 2006. Vince Young sprinting to the end zone for them to upset that powerful USC team back then. Those are probably the two games that stick out for me most. And then one game that you would like for sure is when Florida State got Virginia Tech. Seeing Peter Warrick, like, dude, Peter Warrick was one of my favorite college football players ever, dog. Like,
I think there's a handful of people that were the best of all time, and he's definitely got to be thrown up there. And Percy Harvin comes to mind.
Harvin was cold.
I think Tommy Frazier is one of the best of all time. He gets disrespected when we bring up these top 10 lists all the time. For whatever reason, he gets disrespected even though he's top 5.
Right. Yeah, he's never on there. And Notre Dame USC 2005 was technically the first. I know we call it tush push now, but you remember Reggie Bush kind of helping Matt Leinart getting into the end zone that game. So that was a classic game as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. USC, I guess, and it's the era that we grew up in too, right? Like USC is just like a part of our DNA. Because if you love them or hate them, the USC teams with the Reggie Bush and the Lindell Whites, like the Troy Palomalus, like people forget, man. Like so
they had like Ray Manaluga, Brian Cushion, I think like Ryan Matthews at line. Like, that's cheating, bro. Like, that's 100% cheating, bro.
No wonder Pete Carroll didn't come back to college. He got his ass kicked out.
He already knew, dog. He already knew.
Speaking of Pete Carroll, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We all know the reign that Nick Saban went through, winning national championship at LSU, and everybody knows the back end stories about how he was pretty much forced out because of some personal things that happened. And so he goes over to Alabama, picks them back up after they were, pretty a poverty franchise at that point in time, picks them back up, wins countless national championships. I said at one point, and maybe this is the USC bias, like that's just in our blood at this point, even though we don't root for him, is Pete Carroll, if he was a head coach still during this whole reign of Nick Saban, it would have been either neck and neck, or Pete Carroll would probably be known as the best coach of all time.
I don't think you're far off. I think if you look at the talent he was able to get, those kids in the West Coast, a lot of times in the 90s and the 80s who were going east, Pete Carroll was able to get them to stay out there. And he was just breeding team after team after team. I don't care if it's even in this modern era, if he was still at USC, because think about the downslide USC went on after he left. Like, it was a struggle. So you look at if he was able to coach that same amount of time, he would have been in some of those national championships. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and I think we would be looking at. I don't know if this would have made college football even better, but the East Coast West Coast thing,
oh come on,
would have been prominent. You know what I'm saying? And of course, us East Coasters, we would have been on Nick Saban's side
for sure,
and ready for them to beat up them little, Trojan dudes on the West Coast, right? So, that's interesting. I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength with that, because a lot of people look at me like I have 5 heads, and I'm like, y'all tend to forget who the recruiting master was before there was a Nick Saban. It was Pete Carroll.
I think people who it sounds like a crazy take because Nick Saban had 7 of them, but people who've been following college football for a very long time, they shouldn't see that as a crazy take. I think it's an insightful take and a well thought out take, because what he was doing at one time is crazy.
Yeah, it would have been neck and neck for real. And I truly believe that. And I think USC fans deep down inside really are like, man, what happened is what happened. We got our, a lot of stuff stripped away from us, and they're still trying to pick up the pieces. They're trying to find that, Lincoln Riley is who he is at this point. I mean, but he ain't no damn Pete Carroll. So, they're still trying to find that. So the thing that is racking everybody's brain in college football at this point in time is the inevitable super conferences that are probably going to be coming down the pike. And I don't want to see college football go in that direction. I know you're probably like me, like, let's get back to the regional, where the ACC was truly on the coast, on the East Coast, where the Big 12 was really in the middle of America, where they had the Nebraskas of the world. How do you feel about this? Are you welcome into the idea of a super conference, or do you think that this might ruin our sport as we speak.
Just like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have probably told you 1000% that it would have ruined the sport, because I think what's so pure about college football is its regular season. It's unlike any regular season. In baseball, you can lose 70 or 80 games and still make the postseason. NBA, you can lose 40, 42, 43 games. You can still make the postseason. Same thing with the NHL, NFL. We've seen teams like, especially, I hate to bring this up because you're a Jags fan, but in the AFC South, we've seen teams with like at 500 records. I think we've even seen a team under 500 making it to the playoffs. With college football, it was so pure, especially during like the BCS era, even though the computers got it wrong sometimes. But
Boise State still feeling the effects of that.
for sure. And you can even mention like what was it, 0304 Utah. And it's another team that could be mentioned as well as a team that probably got overlooked, but perfection mattered. And it doesn't matter to the same extent now. But if we just look at the most recent college football playoff, what was 2 losses the cutoff? Or did anybody get in with 3 losses? I think 2 losses might have been the cutoff.
2 losses was pretty much the cutoff.
So the regular season is still pure. The super conference idea, I'm not the biggest fan of course, because by heart, I would love for the Pac-12 to be great again. I think it's cool that they're still fighting to have some sort of a conference. Slighted the Mountain West Conference, of course, you know what I'm saying, in way of doing it. But do I think it would take away? Saturdays are still, in my opinion, goated. A Saturday evening.
I said this on your show in the comment section. I said, regardless of all the parity that happens in between when the season starts, the product on the field on Saturdays is still elite.
It's still elite, 100%. Would I want to see super conferences? No. But could the Big 12 and the ACC? I think the Big 12 could. I'm a huge fan of Brett Yarmark. But could the ACC survive? Because, in 2030, it's easier for teams to lead the ACC. Your team, Florida State's one of those teams that may leave. Clemson's one of those teams. North Carolina is a huge landing spot that the Big 12, SEC, and Big 10 are looking at. So in order for the ACC to survive, a super conference may be the only way, without them getting cherry picked by everybody else. So maybe, hey, Jim Phillips, my guy, should call Brett Yarmark, be like, hey, let's go ahead and formulate a super conference. Would I want to see it? No. I do miss saying the Power 5. I hate saying P4 or Power 4. But do I think the product would be interrupted? Yeah, I don't think the product would be interrupted though.
You mentioned the Pac-12, man, and I hated the fact that the Pac-12 went out with such a bang. Like it was definitely, if not the
best conference that season. In 2023, for sure, the best conference.
If it wasn't the best conference in some people's mind, everybody knew how exciting it was. I mean, all the quarterbacks that came from there. And regardless of how we feel about Cam Ward, however you feel about him, Cam Ward was great at the beginning of the season and great at the end and disappeared in the middle, but he was still part of the success that they had. And people are still going to remember him being part of that. That one hurts me to my core every single day. I'm like, the way that they had to disband on probably their biggest year of all time. It's still, I mean, that season still gives me goosebumps. I mean, when my kids grow up, I'm gonna be like, go back and watch 2023 Pac-12. Watch every single game that season and come back and tell me that wasn't some of the best football that we've ever gotten.
I don't think you could have said it better. That year was crazy. You mentioned the quarterbacks for FIDA. I think we had Shador's first year in Boulder. Caleb Williams. You already said Cam Ward. Cam Rising
could have won the Heisman if it wasn't for Jaden.
Bo Nix played lights out. Kid in Washington that plays with Atlanta.
Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. It was just an elite quarterback play.
DJ Uiagalelei was okay.
Yeah, he was okay. He was okay at Oregon State, and I thought that
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore, I forgot about that. We had elite quarterback play, and to think that poor leadership, George Kliavkoff, I don't know what he was waiting. To this day, I don't know what he was waiting. I think he was waiting for the TV deal. Hey, TV deal, we have money. By the time he was waiting for that, Big 10 and Big 12 already started cherry picking. It was too late after that. I think poor leadership is what led to it, honestly.
The Pac-12 was so greedy. They wanted the Pac-12 to be their own thing for so long, and the TV networks were like, no, we want our logo, not the Pac-12's logo. We want you to be sponsored by us. And they didn't want it. They wanted their thing to be, we want the equipment, we want the broadcasting, we want all of that, but we wanted to say Pac-12 Network. You guys weren't. You can't do that after one good year of football. It's just
you can't. And 10:30 games on the East Coast and late, they end very late.
Oh, I mean, them in the Mountain West. I'm literally. My wife will tell you. 2:00 in the morning, Fresno State playing. I'm up watching San Jose State when everybody didn't know about Nick Nash, and I had to tell him like he wasn't even the best receiver on this team. It was Justin Lockhart.
You're a 1%er, brother.
It's like people don't know, or for us, know that one of the real deal wide receivers last year was Eric Rivers, and he's about to tear up everybody now.
Facts.
You know?
100% facts.
Yeah, what the 1%ers that know those names, it's like y'all see stats. We see what the real work was. Justin Lockhart was doing this thing down there, but you only get to see these type things when you, especially on the East Coast, when you up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning watching these teams do real rap. And Sean Lewis is about to. He's got his hands wrapped around that program this year with San Diego State. Like, man, it just people don't know, and they got to get with the program. So.
100%.
Get into this next thing. What team do you wish was good that was mediocre over these last couple of years? And I know there's a couple of them, but what's that one team that you're like, man, I wish they were good, because when they're good, it's good for college football all the way around.
If they're good, it's good for college football. Let me see. Ole Miss was the team last year, and they were good. But I thought they had potential to be the best team in college football with the moves that they were able to make via the portal. I thought, Lane.
That was a very popular thought from everybody.
Yeah.
And then rightfully so.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin, his father had passed away. I was like, he's going to dedicate this season to his dad. And I was truly all in. And it didn't happen. We're in the DMV, another team, Virginia Tech. I was so high on Virginia Tech last year.
Me too. My goodness.
I looked at their schedule. I said, okay. And I really love their coach, Brent Pry. For anybody who's interacted with this dude in a realm, like, we're lucky. We get to go to media days and Senior Bowl. We talk about that in the green room.
Yeah.
But we interact with this guy, and you can tell, like, we grew up in the DMV, so sometimes we seen street activities that we weren't privy to seeing. And if your uncle or your dad was in the streets, you were going to have a PhD in the streets. Well, Brent Pry, his dad is a coach, so he just speaks coach speech. Like, you don't have to say a word. You're like, yeah, that's the coach. That's 100% the coach. So just being around him and how infectious he is. And I was looking at their team. I'm like, yo, Virginia Tech. It'd be so great for Virginia Tech to be good again. Like, what if they can be that surprise team in the ACC and sneak into the ACC championship? So those will probably be the two teams I was looking at last year. Like, I'm hoping they make a move. They just didn't make a move.
Yeah, I agree with Virginia Tech for sure. And I was just as high on them as anybody. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid, like
100%.
I had them in as a runner-up to win the ACC championship. And I'm a believer in Kyron Jones still. I don't care what anybody says. I still think that he can spin it. And there's no better way for him to be motivated than seeing Shedeur and Cam go where they went. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, those are my boys. But Bashal Tutton, what he had done last year, and I had him in my top 5 running backs. People are like, are you crazy? I said, y'all weren't paying attention.
Right.
He was a Marion Hampton Jr. I mean, he was pretty much like, if you split Marion Hampton in 2, it would have been 2 Bashal Tuttons. Like that's what it was.
Right.
He just had his fumbling issues, and a couple. I really think that Miami game, if it would have came down as a catch, that would have changed the trajectory of their season. I think it was such a knock on them for the rest of the year, but this year's gonna be a little different. I don't have the same expectations as I did last year.
Same.
But I still think that if Kyron can get it all together, he has to be the heartbeat of that team this year, because it's really, you got a young team around you right now. So they're really going to have to depend on you being the guy. So the other team that I'll say, and this is probably like an easy answer, but what they've done, and Mr. Year 3 in Nebraska.
Oh yeah, Matt Rule.
Yeah, Mr. Year 3. We've seen him do it at Temple. We've seen him do it at Baylor, and Year 3 is when he starts to strike the iron hot. Him and getting Dane Key, nasty. Dylan Raiola looked apart, almost beat Ohio State through 3 quarters. Nasty.
They had some games. They left some meat on the bone last season. They had some games they should have won. The Illinois game, the Ohio State game comes to mind as well. But you're right. Year 3, Matt Rule is dangerous. Very dangerous.
I felt that they had a similar season to like Cal and Kansas. Like Cal could have won so many games last year and been in the ACC championship because their defense was legit. Noel Williams, Teddy Buchanan, those guys were awesome. Fernando Mendoza just didn't have as much as he really needed on offense to punch a ticket.
Jaden not had a down year. I expect him to go up in this year for sure.
They might. I saw a post today about college football 26, and then people were saying that Oklahoma might be the most fun team to play with this year.
Whoa, I like that. I like that a lot.
And our boy Jim Nagy's down there as the GM. I already see him doing this thing. I want to get to Oklahoma here in a little bit because you're as high on John Mateer as we are. And people are like, who the hell is John Mateer? I say, y'all don't know. Y'all about to find out real quick. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Oklahoma might be one of them ones this year if he could put everybody on his back. There's no Kyle Williams without John Mateer.
For sure.
Let's be frank about this. Give me a dark horse quarterback this year. Now that we're kind of on the topic of quarterbacks, give me like a dark horse quarterback that you feel like could be in Heisman contention, and you're like, I tried to tell everybody.
Listen. Hear me out. Moon thinks this is hilarious. Walking in Waco, I'm drinking all the Waco Kool-Aid. I'm drinking all the Baylor Kool-Aid. I'm drinking all the Sawyer Robertson Kool-Aid. I think this kid is real deal. I truly, as my dog agrees. Hey, yeah, tell me you agree too.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson is the dark horse. I am telling you, that team came on down the stretch last season. If they start the season strong this year, they're dangerous. I like Sawyer Robertson a lot. That's my dark horse quarterback. I know you got one. Who's your dark horse?
He's not a dark horse, but he is at the same time. And I agree with you. Sawyer Robinson is up there. I'm gonna give you 2. Because one of them is like, I think a lot of people are disrespecting how good this kid is, and that's Lenore Sellers.
Oh, real deal.
The next, if he could put it all together, he's the next Cam Newton.
Bingo.
I've been telling people that all the time. Dogs climbing over everything. The other one, actually, I'm gonna give you 2. Because I'm kind of stuck between both of them. Josh Hoover from TCU.
I'm a Big 12 quarterback guy. Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robinson, believe it or not, my top 10 quarterbacks this upcoming season. I love that.
I don't know if you heard the rumors about like Josh Hoover almost went to UNC. Like Bill Belichick wanted him like heavy.
Because I know Tennessee wanted him too.
Yeah. And I don't think Josh didn't want to go to Tennessee. And he was just like, I'm loyal to what's going on here. Good on him.
I respect that.
I don't mind that. But damn, him and Bill Belichick would have been crazy work. I mean, if Bill Belichick is like, I want him.
Right. That's
high praise.
That's something you see in that kid. And he's been around greatness.
Yeah. And so Sonny Dykes must feel good when you get Bill Belichick to say something like that. The other one, and I don't know why he's not talked about enough. He wasn't in my top 10 as far as like ranking my quarterbacks, but you have Sawyer was there, and then like right at 12 was Chandler Morris.
I love Chandler Morris. I love
him at Virginia. It's interesting. I don't know how well they're gonna do. They don't recruit really well anymore. They don't bring in high profile transfers, but then you get him as a whole high profile transfer. I don't know how that's going to be, but Chandler Morris is always looked the part. You watch him, if you watch it in North Texas games, he's constantly got a receiver that's getting 120, 130 yards a pop every single game. And I mean, he's slinging the ball down the field. Those are my 2 guys. I mean, I don't think Chandler's going to touch being in the Heisman, but when you start looking at the statistics, he's going to definitely be in the top 10 this year on something, whether it be touchdowns or yardage. But yeah, Josh for sure. I think TCU might be for real this year.
I agree with you. Every year in the Big 12 we get surprise teams, and you look at some of the quarterbacks. You look at Iowa State was there last year, but I'm a huge Rocco Beck guy. You look at Josh Hoover. You look at Sawyer Robinson. You start really looking at some of these teams. You're like, yo, what team in this conference got a deficiency? Like even Connor Wegman is at Houston, bro.
Oh, like, I know.
So you start really looking at this conference as a whole. You be like, yo, like so. But the Chandler Morris, you might have hit something because you got to think Elliott's going to be coaching for his job this season. So they're going to need to put wins together. And then they also got the running back. Is it Gustav? How you say his name? The kid from
Gustav, Isaiah Gustav, I believe his name is. Yeah.
So they got him. They got him as well. So I'm interested to see. We get a couple of surprise teams. I feel like every year in the ACC, every year in the Big 12. So I think that way, if he does go off this season, I can talk on Governor College Football, any of my other shows, y'all. Dante called this one. Shout out to my dog. He called it. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Sticking on the Big 12 thing, because now you got me excited, because I know that you cover Liberty a lot. I know that's kind of like in your area too. You go to games here and there. Kaidon Salter has been disrespected for years and constantly puts up the numbers, constantly got Liberty to be undefeated. That's how many teams go undefeated like Liberty,
right?
And then you end up going to Colorado. They commit Juju Lewis a little bit after that. Now all the pressure is like, okay, I got this 5-star kid that's coming in. I got to replace Shedeur. Colorado, people are saying Colorado might not be as good, and I'm like, they got a Mario Miller. They got that one kid that
a lot of people forgot about Miller because he was hurt last season.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget that they picked up that kid from Texas that broke like all kinds of records. He's coming in. Marshall Faulk is going to revamp that running game for them.
I still think guy too.
Yeah, I still think getting rid of Sean Lewis was a huge mistake.
Mistake. And they did it in the most disrespectful way. I hated the way Sean Lewis was treated.
But yeah, and then on the other side of that, when Sean brought his guys with him to San Diego State, then it was Sean disrespected us.
All right.
Like, y'all can't have this both ways, man.
Right. It can't be both ways.
Yes. So I think, and I haven't been the highest on Colorado. I'm gonna just be honest, and we were right for the most part on not looking through the beer goggles. But I'm getting this sense of like watching their videos, like Colorado just seems a little bit different. They seem a little bit more disciplined. And Kaidon Salter is bringing leadership in place that Juju Lewis just doesn't have right now. And it seems like all those guys are just gelling together. I think Kaidon Salter in Colorado can absolutely win the Big 12 this year and shock everybody in the country. With all the great quarterbacks that we just talked about, there's no slight to them. But when we're talking about dark horse quarterbacks, it might be Kaidon Salter. I truly believe that. What have you seen? Because you seen him live and direct do some crazy stuff.
I tell you, Kaidon Salter in 2023 was magical. You could tell he was really enjoying playing football. And in my opinion, the chip on his shoulder in 2023 was larger than the chip on his shoulder in 2024. I think he believed after the 2023 season, I went undefeated. We won our conference championship, 13-0. We played Oregon. We got hands and feet placed upon us. But, at the end of the day, I had us in the VRBO Fiesta Bowl because of my talents. Now, something switched in 2024. There's times where they lost a lot of production. He just looked disinterested and disconnected. I think he truly wanted to go back to the SEC. Because if you remember he started at Tennessee. Transferred to Liberty. And I think he's like, yo, my job is done. I'm going to go with Hugh Freeze at Auburn. And I thought that Hugh Freeze would pull the trigger on it. But I think he believed in the person of Peyton Thorne so much that he didn't pull the trigger. But I feel like Auburn would be a little bit, ahead if he would have went ahead and brought Kaidon Salter and have them do a quarterback competition. And I think Kaidon Salter would have won. So what I've seen from the clips and stuff, he looks refocused. Like I'm telling you, there'll be times we'll be at the game. I'll be out there with Director Mike or Moon to be there because we're season credentialed. And like, at the end of a quarter, they'll huddle. And at the end of every quarter, like they do, it's a almost like it's a TV timeout, but it's a timeout on the field.
Yeah.
And he would not be in the huddle. He'll just be like, he didn't want to be there, bro. I promise you, didn't want to be there. Now he looks refocused. He looked like he got that chip on his shoulder, and I think he can play his way to an NFL contract. I truly believe that. So I like your Colorado take. It's so many good teams in the Big 12. I don't even know where I stand with Colorado. I really don't. But I like their staff construction. I like their roster construction. I think Dion can focus more on the business side of things with football now that his boys have moved on. And
let the coaches coach.
Yeah.
At this point in time, like I don't think anybody out there is saying that Dion's this amazing coach. What he is an amazing recruiter, and it needs to stay that way. And losing to me, I know I keep bringing up Sean Lewis, but I just think that is such like a downgrade with Pat Shurmur.
I agree.
Really, Pat Shurmur's job is on the line because you are conforming to a quarterback that has no attachment to whatever's going on in Colorado. This is not Dion telling you, yo, you got to conform to my son, blah, blah, blah.
That's what it was, essentially.
Yeah, Pat was designing everything around him because remember, he was like, I don't even like throwing choice routes. Like, come on, Shedeur, like let's get this together, right? But you got a quarterback that, first of all, that whole offensive lineman woes, you have a second extra with a guy that's as dynamic as Caden. You're not going to see this stuff that Shedeur was doing where he'll roll out, start looking if Travis wasn't down the field, and then throw it out of bounds, and then your kicker misses by 1 yard because he did that. Like, you're not going to see that stuff from Caden. Like, you're going to get the whole package, and he's going to force to be good. Like, think about this. Tennessee had him. He didn't play. You play at Liberty. You play every once in a while some good teams, but everybody know Liberty was kicking everybody's ass.
Right.
Losing to Kennesaw State was nuts last year, by the way. And maybe that's where everything, that was a downfall from that. But you're going to a place where quarterbacks are good. Big 12 is going to look the best that it's ever had because of that. Sean Levin and Kenny Dillingham, what they've been doing, like even Lance Leopold is going to have a tough job this year. He lost a lot too. And the only constant with that team right now is Jalen Daniels. And if he can stay healthy. And so there's a lot of parity that's going to happen, but it's enough of a wounded animal with some teams, like even Rocco Beck. You're not going to have those two receivers.
Oh. And
so you're really going to have to dial it up now too. Josh has got a problem too. JP Richardson, Jack Besh, and Savion Williams are going. They're all draft eligible guys. So how's everything going to look with all that? I think Caden is the one to strike when the iron's hot, and not care who's his receiver. Like, he's going to get the ball out. And if he can't get the ball out, you already know what he's about to do.
All script plays are must-see TV with Kaidon Salter. I've seen him do some amazing things in Lynchburg, Virginia. I promise you.
But I didn't know that. What you were saying is like he just looked disinterested being there and things like that. I didn't get the vibe because, of course, we're not on the sideline. You only get to see on the broadcast. But something was not right with them because they should have been a top contending team again. I don't know why Hugh Freeze didn't want to do that, but it makes sense. Because remember, before Peyton Thorne got there, Casey Thompson was there for a week.
He was.
And I'm like, you go with Casey Thompson. What are we doing? you go with Casey. What? And then when Peyton Thorne committed there, it was like, and then Casey goes to FAU and tears his leg up in the first 3 weeks. I'm like, man,
I think
this dude can't catch a break.
Ashford was there, and I think Peyton Thorne ended up beating him out.
Which is crazy. I'm like, how do you beat out Robbie Ashford? A more dynamic quarterback than you? I don't know. You got Cam Coleman and DeAndre Lambert Smith on that team. Like, there's no, and then you had Jarquez Hunter running the rock. Like, there's no reason why they couldn't have been better than they were either.
Right. You look at that and say something's not adding up. It just had a plethora of talent and it wasn't utilized correctly. But to your point, there was another player. I was at a game and Nino, Moon, Mike, anybody, CFB Nation will tell you when USC lost to Maryland at the homecoming game, I was there. I saw the game on the field. I seen Zachariah Branch, seen a similar thing with Kaidon Salter. Look disinterested. And I remember going to the sideline during the timeouts, and I text them, and I'm gonna find it. I'm a screenshot, and I'm gonna send it to you. And it said, and I was like, he's entering the portal 100%. And like that's why it was no surprise when he did. I'm like, he's not coming back next year. He doesn't like how he's being utilized. So it's just things you see when you're at those games and on the field that TV sometimes just doesn't show.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that too, because the big rumor was, and you probably remember this, the big rumor was wherever Miller Moss goes, Kyron Hudson and Zachariah Branch might follow, and none of them followed him.
They didn't.
It was just surprising.
Right, right.
So where did this rumor come from? I'm like, either they just didn't like him, and they had like this conversation, like, yeah, bro, wherever you go, psych, we ain't going with it. No. But I mean, for Kyron Hudson, it's like you're playing with Drew Aller, who's a better quarterback.
Right.
Zachariah Branch, you're going to a place where you're going to be used creatively everywhere you go. And, you know, obviously you have a promising quarterback that's stepping up in place for them. And then you're playing for Kirby Smart. Yeah, that's very interesting that he was like that too. I mean, they're young kids.
Right.
They're not going to be like us. Like we'll have a poker face, and we got to move forward. We got to be an adult about things. But these people tend to forget that these are still kids, man. They can't hide their emotions like we can.
No, they're not. You know, Zacharias was still, what is he, 19, maybe 20? He might not even be 20 yet. So he's young. And to have, you know, the success as a freshman, even with the injuries, and then his sophomore year, it just didn't translate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and isn't his brother play for Georgia as well?
I think you're right. I think his brother might do play for Georgia.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. Yeah. Zion Branch, football players who previously played at university. They transferred together. He's a safety. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I think his brother plays for Georgia too.
He transferred with him. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder where he's at on the depth chart.
I don't know. I mean, you're gonna get buried if you can't perform. Kirby didn't play that. His defenses are always good. Yeah. So we talked about, you know, the conferences, and we got to get directly over to another thing that kind of drives me nuts, and I haven't really heard you talk about it other than like you know, the NIL situation, which you had an interesting take, like a loyalty bonus and things like that. And I'm like, that's a really good idea. And I don't usually agree with people. So when I'm saying it's a good idea, you gotta take it as a compliment, right?
I appreciate that.
How can we improve the transfer portal period? And back in the day, you used to have to sit a year. And I always think about the one thing that always comes to mind in this situation, it always just makes me think about the transfer portal. There is no other epitome of what could happen than Kelly Bryant being replaced by Trevor Lawrence. He had to sit out a year before he transferred to Missouri and became a shell of himself. And Kelly Bryant was not playing bad that year. It was just Dabo just needed somebody to do a little bit. I think they would have won the national championship with Kelly Bryant, regardless. But you saw what Trevor Lawrence did. You make a decision, you stick with it. And if I was Kelly, I would have did the same thing. And so when that happens, you sit out a year, you think about it, and bam, you end up on the team that you're at, and then he just didn't have the career that he had. So I could see the downfall of like us having a period of time where like a guy has to like sit out for that, you know, extended period of time in their youth when they're trying to learn the game. But something has to be done with like a guy having to transfer 3 or 4 times in his career. Like, it's insane to me. And the spring portal period is still, to me, like the worst. Like, I hate that. You're practicing with these guys the whole time, and you're just like, peace, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? And I feel bad for Joey Aguilar, which I want to talk about him in a little bit, but like, Joey had no choice.
He didn't at all.
Then that throws a wrench in the whole spring portal period too, because it's like he got effed, and so he did the smart move by going to Tennessee. But you can't join him, and you can't beat him to join him. You know what I'm saying?
Go where the vacancy is.
So how do you feel about the transfer portal period? Because it used to be back, you know, when we were playing, it used to be different, and now it's completely done a 180 on us. So how would you fix that portal period?
So I think with the the previous era, pre-NIL, pre all of that, I think we went from one extreme to another extreme. So we went from an extreme where the coaches had all power. I think you mentioned a great situation in Kelly Bryant. I'm going to mention another one, Cam Newton. Urban Meyer made all of these rules of schools that Cam Newton, what, because he knew he was talented.
Yeah.
Imagine Cam Newton was almost a never was. So he had to transfer, go to JUCO route, go win a JUCO championship. Then after that, because he's technically set out a year, goes to Auburn, then go win a national championship. He almost was a never was when we think about it. So I don't care for that extreme because, you mentioned Kelly Bryant, I mentioned Cam Newton. Well, it's about somebody like a Jaden Reed, where it was a progressive transfer. It wasn't even a lateral one where he was at Western Michigan. Then to go and play in East Lansing at Michigan State, he had to sit out a year, and then he was able to play. But now it's madness. So we both were in the Big 12 meeting, and we heard both Lance Leopold and Kenny Dillingham speak on this, and they both said we want one transfer portal season. We don't want it to start in December. It needs to start in January. I thought that was pivotal. I thought it was great that they had that mindset. But I agree too. It needs to be one season. It needs to happen in January, and it needs to happen after the conclusion of the national championship. It should not happen before then. Because what do we have in late December? Well, we have early signing day, and flipping season is crazy, and it's difficult to pay attention to everything that's happening at once because players are flipping, people are leaving and entering the portal. Like, I mean, damn, how long did Carson Beck wait to announce he was entering the portal? His team lose, he doesn't even play. Oh, see, I'm headed to 305. Like I don't know. It just needs to be one season because we have what's the tight end, the kid from Ball State who transferred to Wisconsin. Now he transferred again. Caden Proctor did it last year. Left Tuscaloosa, went to Iowa City. At the end of the start of the beginning of the spring portal, he's going back to Tuscaloosa. Like, this should not be allowed. So it needs to be outlawed. So I believe if they went with one centralized season, I don't think there's really a need for a late window portal because it's happening at the end of spring season. If you want to transfer, you commit to a team and you don't like your place on the depth chart, that is your fault. Maybe you should have thought about what high school you should have, what college you should have went to. Maybe instead of, thinking about cloud and thinking about how big the program is, maybe playing time should have been a little bit higher up on your list. And then once you decide to transfer, you shouldn't be able to transfer again right at the end of the season. We see quite a few times. So I think if they go to one transfer season, that'll bring some reform. It won't bring complete reform. But I think if they wait to after the conclusion of the national championship, which is played on a Monday, it should be played on a Saturday, then I think we have a little bit more balance because the coaches' jobs are difficult. That's why the GM role is such a pivotal role now, because how difficult it was to be a coach because of not even coaching. Coaching is easy for coaches. It's all the semantics that you have to deal with coaching as far as recruiting and continuing to recruit players that are already on your team. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, I always thought it should be like this. The number one thing, if we were still playing, there's two things that come to mind. First of all, I told people I don't care if Florida State would have offered me, I would have went. Don't care about the coach. I care about the school first.
Right.
The likeliness of that ever happening to every single athlete, especially people like us that grew up in Maryland,
for sure.
Florida State ain't coming to the recruit.
Nah.
Like,
not in the offices.
Where all of our people go? They go to West Virginia for some reason. Like, I know so many people that played at West Virginia. I'm like, why'd y'all go there? Because you got to be smart to go to Maryland. So the next best step is go to West Virginia. Go I don't really care about GPA like that, I guess. But on the other side of that, it's the coach that players really care about. Sure. And they want to find that sense of an adult or coaching style that they cling on to that they think is going to help their development. And rightfully so. Like, the coach is the person that has to sell you on their program and make you feel like that you're going to be an important piece to their success. I always thought you should be able to transfer one time, no questions asked, because if your coach leaves, you're going to want to follow him. But the second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, you got to sit out a year. I mean, it just is what it is. Unless there should be a list of approved excuses on why to transfer immediately to another school. Devontae Walker is the perfect example. I don't think anybody morally is going to be like, you can't transfer to North Carolina. Your grandma's on her deathbed and that's like your mom. You're going to want to be close to your family. it's okay if you transfer there as long as that school accepts you and they accept your transfer, then it's okay. Like those type of things should be like a COVID waiver, right? Like, yes, that's a waiver where you can immediately be on a roster the next season without no holds bar. But everything else is like, oh, I don't like my teammates. Oh well, you got to sit out of here because it screws the team. I would hate to be a coach, especially now in the spring portal, of like, man, I had this running back here the whole time. He was excellent. You know, we got him fit in the game plan. It's like Ashton Gentry. Like if Ashton Gentry wasn't just transferring the spring portal, Boise State would be effed. They'd be like, this changes the whole trajectory of what we wanted to do this year. And then how does that next team feel? Like you just gonna get up and leave us, you know, when the January or the December portal period opens up if we don't do well? Like with me and you, we probably be like, man, who is this dude?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care that you got 1,600 yards last season. Like, you got to come in here and prove it, man. Because the last guy that we had went down for injury. You got to step in his place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's how I would structure it if I was the NCAA. Because they've gotten themselves in so many morally, like, strenuous situations that we're just sitting here scratching our head. What was the kid that wanted to transfer to Colorado because of Deion Sanders? I forget that. It was like he thought him as like a father figure or something like that, and he was following him from team to team from Jackson State, and they were making a whole hoopla about like.
I remember that when he first stepped foot in Boulder. I do not remember that player's name though.
Yeah, it was like a big ordeal with that, but like his reasoning was legit. Like, his family trusted Deion with everything. He looked at him like a father figure, and he had like some mental stuff going on too that was like medically diagnosed. So it was helping him with that. It's all crazy. I don't think there's a perfect solution when we got the NCAA in place, because of course they got to want to make money. But of course it makes money when this headlines show up. ESPN going to write about it. Oh, right. He did a transfer portal. The NCAA is like, yeah, boy, like I want the chaos. Speaking on that though, the Dylan Pavia rule is what I like to call it, where you don't have to waste a year eligibility if you go to JUCO. Like, I think that's insane. Like, you still played a year. So you're telling me that if I busted my ass for 4 years on the SEC team, that if I just go to JUCO and come back, that I could play again? Where's my extra year for having to go against the guys? Like, you got bad grades and stuff, so you going to JUCO, or you just didn't, you want to get some extra development because you're not starting, but now you get an extra year. Like, I don't know how you feel about it. I didn't like that rule at all. I'm like, wow, so Dylan Pavia is coming back for another year because he complained. How do you feel about it?
No, I agree with you. I think you made some great points. Like, if first transfer is free, I love that. And you said after that, yeah, you got to sit out a year.
Yep.
I like that a lot. So Diego Pavia, that I think you bring up a good bargain. Like, there are some players who play in college collegiately like way too long. You should not be able to go JUCO and then still keep maintain a year eligibility just because you move back up, unless it was similar to like, but you played. No, I can't see it. You played. Like, if you played, that should be a year. It should be 100% a year, no matter what level it's at. If it's at FBS, FCS, D1, D2, JUCO, D3, whatever. If you play, you played. And no, you shouldn't get an extra year eligibility. But I get it. Some of these kids know that they're not going to play collegiately. I'm sorry, play at the NFL level, especially at quarterback. He may have to move to another position. So they're trying to strike while the iron's hot and get as much money as they possibly can, man. So
it just feels like to me, you beat Alabama. We want to see the chaos again, Dylan. Yeah. We'll say that you could go to JUCO and get an extra year. Because I don't know if Dylan's going to do as good as he did last year. Maybe we've seen this time and time again. The parity of college football will bite you in the ass the next year, and just because you had success your previous year, you think that Kalen DeBoer is going to let that happen? Ryan Williams already came out and said when they played Vanderbilt this year, he literally said word for word. I said that's a bar. He said it's going to be a sledgehammer to ants when we go against them this time.
Yeah. You take those things personally, so. Yeah, I doubt it's happening. I thought the Vanderbilt story was real cool last year, but with Ryan Grubb and Tuscaloosa, I think Ty's system will fit that system much more than Jalen Milroe fit the system. And that's not a dig at Jalen's system. I just know we've seen what Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb like to do. I expect a much improved team in Tuscaloosa, even though they only lost 4 games, including the bowl game last year. But I expect a much better team this year.
Yeah, I expect Ryan Grubbs. Well, Ryan's already said, I've been watching a lot of stuff he's been doing, and he said they've been moving me in the slot. I said that's dangerous because Ryan Williams up the seams on teams. My goodness. And then if Ryan Grubbs can do one thing for me, please, this season, I talked the most like highly of Jam Miller and Justice Haynes being really good for that team. Where were they last year? They were supposed to be one of the best tandems in college football.
Right.
If anybody could do it, maybe Ryan can bring that out of them this year. And I like Ty Simpson because he fits the mold of what Kalen DeBoer wants to do. So
that wide receiver room isn't as talented as Washington wide receiver room in 2023. But when you look at Horton and you look at Ryan Williams and you look at what Washington was able to do 2023, you can see similarities and say, yo, Ryan Grubb may cook something up. And Nick Sheridan just didn't quite seem like a fit at offensive coordinator last year. Neither did Tommy Reese. He didn't seem like a fit the prior year.
Yeah, Tommy Reese was just there to get his boy from Notre Dame to come down there, and he didn't care anymore once he didn't even see a snap.
It didn't even work out.
Yeah, it's like you brought this dude to the Jalen Melrose show. Like there was, that was never happening. Oh, that's right. Justice Haynes did to the Michigan.
He's in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Dan Miller's still there though. Mm-hmm. So who has a better season to you? I know we spoke about Joey Aguilar a little bit, but Nico Iamaleava transferred up to UCLA with his brother Madden, and we all know that whole debacle where our dude from Arkansas won his money back, rightfully so. Or Joey Aguilar. Like, I know you pay attention to Group of Five as much as we pay attention to it. I mean, I think that's where some of the best football gets played. The kid from Ball State, that was the quarterback up there. What's his name? He's got a crazy name.
Minoza.
Canoza or something like that.
Yeah, Kalen Minoza. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's transferring out to a bigger school. So, who has a better season though? Does Nico elevate that team, or does Joey actually come out of nowhere and look like a better fit for Tennessee?
Well, the Veer and Shoot or the Art Brow system, whatever you want to call the system, it's really set up to make the defense decide what they want you to do. If you load the box, we're gonna throw the ball outside. If you try to stop our passing game, we're gonna run the rock. So I look at Tennessee, I look at Aguilar, and I say, well, wow, I'm not the biggest fan personally of the Veer and Shoot. Joey Hazel's system has always been able to run a rock, right? But I feel like what Curtis Work was able to do last year at Indiana, and I know Mike Shanahan was the main offensive coordinator, but the passing game coordinator was Tino Sinceri. Tino Sinceri is a former quarterback, played college ball at Pitt. So there's just conversations that a quarterback who's been there and done that, he's know what you've been with. And I think the trust that he's going to have from Deshaun Foster, they have some pieces there. They truly do have some pieces there. And I think they could be bowl eligible. And I think Tino's system kind of fits Nico's skill set much better than the Veer and Shoot. Nico just never looked comfortable in a Veer and Shoot.
He was on hospital balls all year. Like, my goodness, brother.
It's a difficult offense to run. But if you look at what Curtis Work was able to do at Indiana, and I'm not saying that Nico is as accurate as Curtis Work, but it's not like Curtis Work is leaps and bounds more accurate than Nico. There'll be easy throws. There'll be plays to get him comfortable. I fully expect UCLA to be bowl eligible this year. And if Nico can do that in year one, I do think Tennessee will slide a little bit. I think they're 22nd in the nation in return in production defensively. But if you look at that offense, it's a lot of moving pieces, bro. And me personally, I can't see it. But if Heupel gets this team to 8-4 or better, this may be his best coaching job ever. I truly feel that way. But I'm going to go with Nico because Tino Sinceri is a former quarterback. That system is quarterback friendly, and I think it's more quarterback friendly than the Veer and Shoot. So I'm going with Nico 100%.
Let's play a little game of, true or false here, and it's all from your perspective.
Okay.
Does a guy like Carson Beck have a better season at Miami? True or false? Than Cam Ward?
No, false.
Okay. All right, we already cooking. Michigan has a better season than Ohio State.
False.
Bryce Underwood has a better season than Julian Sand.
True, because I'm not certain Julian Sand is starting.
But Ryan Day does this all the time, though.
It does, because we seen it when Quinn Ewers was in Columbus, and it would say it'd be a quarterback battle between him and CJ Stroud. We all knew Stroud was winning, and last year we knew it was Will Howard's job. But 2023 is what scares me about this current situation, because I thought there was a huge gap between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. And then towards the end of fall camp 2023, we get something weird that happens where it kind of
Devin Brown was starting.
Huh?
I thought Devin Brown was going to start.
I thought he was starting too, because it's like the coaches were divided. So Lincoln Kienholz, while I think Julian Sand is better, but if you look at what Lincoln was able to do in the latter part of the spring and during the spring game, he had some throws where that makes you say, hold on now, maybe we do have a race. Julian will ultimately win it, but I'm just interested to hear when Ryan Day is going to announce it. And I know it may be a competitive edge in some people's thoughts, but I love what Shane Beamer did at the end of the spring season last year. Lenore Sellers is the starter. He didn't care what happened with Robbie. Lenore Sellers is the starter. He just announced it. So, like, I don't know. I that's how I feel about the situation. So, but Underwood has a lot of talent, and I think you look at this Michigan team. Sharon Moore is going to miss some games this year, and that grinded out play and what he's going to be able to do as far as running the ball. I think his ceiling is higher than Alex Orji. Now, I thought Alex Orji would be better than he was in Ann Arbor last year. And then I thought Mikey King heading into the season would be the guy, but Underwood's talent.
You probably like me, like people disrespect Mikey King, man.
It's frustrating.
He should have saw the writing on the wall. Like, I thought that he was going to enter the spring portal once Bryce Underwood got there and looked the way that he did.
And he would have got to look by Knoxville too. He got to look by a lot of teams because he's been here and done that. But yeah,
he was in Heupel's system. He knows a prototypical kind of pro style type system like that, and so that would fit anywhere. And then you played at Fresno, where you were doing some creative things out there. Like Mikey King was no pushover. I mean, him and Mac Delano were the shit together. To be completely honest, like people just didn't know. Isaac Brown or Mark Fletcher, who is the closest to win the Doak Walker Award this year?
I'm all in on Louisville, so I got to be consistent with Louisville. Isaac Brown for sure.
We are Isaac Brown gentlemen over here for sure. I think Louisville is a dark horse team, man. That could win the ACC, and everybody's like, how the hell did that happen?
They are scary. They are really scary. And the kid, Duke Watson, behind Isaac Brown.
Duke Watson. Yeah.
He's real deal. I'm telling you.
So we got our guy Darian Mensah that's down there in Duke, right? Took a whole bunch of NIL money to go there from Tulane. And Manny Diaz is who I think shouldn't have been fired from Miami during his stint. I think it was one of those things where it was premature. Then he goes to Penn State, has their defense rolling. Tom Allen gets there, continues the defense to roll, goes down to Clemson. With all that being said, where do you see Darian Mensah this year? Is the hype for real? I mean, we saw it last year. Kid can spin the ball. But are we seeing another Riley Leonard type situation where he's going to elevate Duke into being one of those guys that we have to watch out for in the ACC?
I don't think there was a perfect marriage or a marriage I like more than Manny Diaz being in Durham. Because you look at, the typical blue blood basketball program, and I think a lot of people thought it'll just be an automatic drop off. Riley Leonard is in South Bend. Mike Elko heads to College Station. I like Manny Diaz. He just does the work. And then we always talk about like coaches because we get to go to all of these events. Being around him, bro, he's infectious, bro. He's really infectious. So I think they're building something. I think we're going to see a consistent, middle class program in Duke. I think we're going to see that constant, 75, 8-4, 9-3 is probably the ceiling year in and year out. And Manny Diaz, I think you're right. I think he was treated unfairly in Coral Gables.
Yeah. I don't know how the rich just keep getting richer with Penn State getting Jim Knowles. And kind of the lead into the last topic here. I don't know that there's a way that Penn State, when we get college football 26, is not a 98, 99 overall team. By everything that they've brought there, right? The whatever voodoo magic happened with Drew Aller to bring those guys together, they're returning all their offensive linemen. They're returning both their star running backs and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. They get Trevor Pena, big body receiver from Syracuse. They're going to get Kyron Hudson. They're going to get the kid from Troy that had a great season. And Jim Knowles is got all the talent in the world on that defense that we're going to see step up once again. And they're a younger team as well that he's going to have his hands wrapped around. If anything, their secondary is going to be a lot better than they were the year prior. For sure, because I mean, look at what he's done with Davis and Igbinosa and Caleb Downs and the boys. Like, we could talk about Davis and Igbinosa and Caleb Downs till our faces fall off. We already know the talents that those dudes are. But is this? And I've asked this question to other people, but I want to get your take because we follow college football almost in the same wavelength. If you guys don't follow it more than us because we cover other stuff, is this James Franklin's best opportunity to win a national championship that he's ever had?
Yes, and by a mile. The pieces are in place. You look at, I think they have the best duo as far as offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki. I think he's one of the brightest minds of the sport. But he has to deal with James Franklin. And then you have Jim Knowles defensively. All of the stars are lining up similarly to how all the stars lined it up for Columbus last year. You saw all the pieces, all the money that they
I was going to say.
Spending in the portal, Jim Knowles being there. And can you imagine what that trip's going to be? Jim Knowles was disrespected by Ohio State.
Didn't invite them to the parade, just sent them off. Like, I can't celebrate with the kids that I coached to help get us there.
Right. Right. And my defense,
they didn't do that to Chip when he went off to the NFL.
They didn't. So like I said, I think that game will be the game. But I look at this two ways. I think people's uncertainty with Penn State is because their uncertainty is with James Franklin. If you strip the uniforms off of these players and you drop this team in Eugene, you're saying that this is the best constructed roster in all of college football because Dan Lanning is their head coach. Same thing. You move this team and take them down to, let's think of another really good coach. You take this team to Athens, Georgia, and they're wearing that red, black, and white with Georgia. You're saying that this is the best constructed team in all of college football. But the reason that you are uncertain is 100% because of James Franklin. And I get the hesitancy because we've seen it time and time again. But damn, we almost had them. We've seen it with Ohio State last year. We've seen it with Notre Dame in the playoffs. It's so many times you can say, yo, Penn State, you had an opportunity, like take a shot, go be aggressive. We've seen it with Michigan in 2023 when Jim Harbaugh was out and Sharon Moore was the head coach. We've seen Michigan run the ball like the last 26 plays. They ran the ball, bro. And you couldn't take a shot to go win that game. Like, so it's on James Franklin. And he got upset at the spring game because a fan called him a fraud. Well, why would you get upset about that? Go prove him wrong. Go prove everybody wrong. Go win the whole damn thing and have it where the Big Ten and won the last 3 national championships.
He's definitely, yeah, I agree with you. And he's definitely dealt with what's been the most anemic position that he's ever recruited? It has to be a wide receiver.
He's wide receiver for sure.
I mean, why? How did Keandre Lambert-Smith go to Auburn and do as well as he did? And nobody can tell me that 2023 season that all of that was on Drew. People will make you sit here and believe that Drew is this ass quarterback, and he's not.
I don't get that narrative. I've never gotten that narrative.
I literally have to refrain myself from arguing with people on Twitter, and I'm like, y'all just don't know football, because obviously Keandre Lambert-Smith on several passes that year, they were not on the same page. And Drew's like throwing his hands up. Like, whenever a quarterback throws his hands up, you're running the wrong route. We've seen this with Justin. I would never forget when Chris Olave ran the wrong route and that college football playoff game against Clemson the first time. And Justin is just like, you just saw his face drop. And you saw where he threw it, and Chris Olave was this way. And it was like, dang. But it was different. Drew was just tired of them not being on the same page. But I mean, who the hell was he throwing to? Nobody can remember any of those dudes' names outside of Keandre Lambert Smith.
They can't. I think did he have Parker Washington for a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and
Parker Washington was a special teamer though.
He was a major disappointment because he balled out the prior year when the kid that Washington drafted at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Oh, I cannot think of his name. It's gonna bother me. It's gonna bother me for the rest of the night too, until I get off this show and figure out who he is.
Oh, you talking about Jahan Dotson?
Jahan Dotson, yes. So that was a really good crew, but Drew Allen wasn't the quarterback then. So
Sean Clifford.
yeah.
I'll never forgive Sean Clifford for having his best game ever in the Rose Bowl. I'm like, so now you want to step up and be a great quarterback? The hell is going on? Right. I give a lot of respect for Penn State for one thing this year is scheduling their whiteout game against Oregon. I mean, how many poverty teams have we seen them go against outside of maybe Iowa that one year? Mm-hmm. Iowa's always a decent team. They've been playing Auburn and just like the little sisters of the North, like
right.
But now you're going against like Dan Lanning's going to come down there and want to make it. This is the epitome for Dan Lanning for me. You're going into an environment that is Autzen Stadium. That's not your hometown. Mm-mm. And that's going to be a little different for him. But also on top of that, this is where, and I've always had my problems with this. I've been to Penn State games, and I think personally, from the crowds that I've been in, I don't think that the whiteout game could be that much better than what I've experienced, even on TV. And I understand the Michigan game and all that, but it's got to earn its name of one of the best environments in football when it comes to that game. Like, I'm willing to turn another leaf if they come in there and kick Oregon's ass and it's just they're confused and everything. I need that whiteout game to be like that. And I'm happy.
I agree with you 100%. Like, man, if it's one thing to see Interstate, man, when you're in Blacksburg, Virginia, it's a whole nother thing to experience it. My eyes have never been so wide.
I've been to Blacksburg plenty of times. You know what? It's funny that you said it because I've said that many times. I said one of the most underappreciated places to be is Blacksburg during a night game. I gotta go to LSU to see a game there, obviously.
Yeah, same.
So I can't speak with that. But I can tell you right now, Blacksburg at night, when they're going against a rival team, when the money's on the line, it's better than the whiteout game at Penn State. And I've never been to one. I just tell people that all the time.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And they haven't had good teams. And it's still electric.
It's crazy. It's like a drug. That's the only way I can explain the environment. Like the stadium is literally shaking. I'm on the field and I'm like, yo, am I about to fall? Like, that's how crazy it was.
It's ear piercing. It's everybody's jumping up and down, musty as hell. Like, yeah.
Outfield is another one. I have not been there. I have not been there either.
Yeah, I mean, Khalid was sending us some clips when he was down. I mean, it's crazy. I think we're trying to hook up that game against South Carolina this year. Both of them are good because I want to see Lenora Sellers and Marcel Reed do their thing this year. Another quarterback that we haven't talked about, Marcel Reed.
Marcel Reed.
And Casey Concepcion.
That's gonna be cold. Year 2 of Colin Klein's system. I'm interested to see that. I can't wait for the battle at Death Valley though. We will be there. We're going on a college football season in Clemson. I can't wait, bro.
Yeah. I got to get to a Clemson game. Yeah, it's got to be the battle of the Death Valleys, right? Yeah. Who reigns supreme for sure. Hey, this has been a great show. Can't thank you enough for coming on and chopping it up with me. We got to do this more often.
For sure.
I know we're gonna meet up at a couple events this year. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to do the damn thing. Hopefully, you get out to the Senior Bowl this year too. That's always, it's like a family reunion when I'm down there.
I think it's a Super Bowl for what we do. It's like the celebration of this past season. We're saying goodbye to the players because once they hit the NFL, I mean, I know you guys do a fantastic job covering the NFL. At the company we had before CFB Nation, we used to cover the NFL, and it started feeling like work because now I watch a Bills game. That's all I'm watching. I'm not watching anything else unless if the Commanders are good because I'm in the area. I watch their games too. My dad's a Dallas fan, so I watch them to lose. But other than that, I'm not. I'm watching college football. I'm just all the way locked in. So
you know what it is for me is like I like seeing the players that I covered all year long in their first year in the NFL, and I think that's really what strings me along in the appeal of watching it as closely that I do. Like the Bo Nix situation last year was crazy. Like everybody knew I was a Bo Nix guy. I knew that he was going to prove everybody wrong, and he came in there and he did. If it wasn't for Jane Daniels, he would have won Rookie of the Year. It's just fact. And he did exactly what I thought he was going to do down there with the Broncos. And I'm hoping for another, but people know it like you, that Auburn situation that he dealt with, rocking out with 2 different offensive coordinators, the team leaving because of that. He wanted a fresh place to not have his dad's stigma on his shoulders all the time. People forget he was a SEC freshman of the year, beat Alabama.
yeah, Heisman worthy plays as a freshman, but the Mike Bobo, Brian Harsin, it was bad for him. They completely changed the system, and there was Oregon fans who I will not name, but I know closely, and you guys know one of them because he's one of the biggest high school recruiting graphics guys. I'm not gonna say who it is.
Oh.
You probably have an idea who it is now.
I can't stand his graphics either. It's nasty. But
he did not want Bo Nix. Just because of the stigma of the dad, and then how his second season at Auburn went.
But that's how everybody was, except for me. Like there was people that are with ECG, and I was like, Bo Nix is gonna ball out at Oregon, and people are like, "You're crazy. He was ass at Auburn." I'm like, okay, well. Just like I feel about Daniel Jones might ball out with the Colts this year, you got to look at these guys' situation and what they've been through. Like, just like Daniel Jones, he didn't know who his offensive coordinator. He had 5 of them, 3 different head coaches. Right. Wide receivers always hurt. Saquon wasn't the healthiest. Worst offensive line in football. And y'all putting all that blame on him? Like, that's crazy. It's the same thing with Bo Nix. I'm like, once he gets to a good situation, then first year under Kenny Dillingham, he literally got that dude a head coaching job.
Lit it up, and they was arguably that first year robbed of a Joe Moore award because I don't think he was sacked more than 2 times, bro.
Oh yeah, he had I think he only had 4 sacks on the year, the whole year.
That's crazy. Yeah, they were.
It was in that year. Remember, he was rolling out and everything. He was making stuff happen with his feet. And then the second year, when Will Stein got there, he felt a little bit more relaxed, able to check down a little bit more, and then dump it over the top. It was those two guys. Will Stein's gonna be the next. He's gonna be the next head coach that's gonna get a job somewhere. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I think there are so many young coordinators out there, and then when you look around college football, you like the future is now. Like there are so many coordinators, elite coordinators under the age of 40 years old, and this sport is slowly getting younger, and it kind of got to get younger because of the workload that these coaches have. But I was thinking, bro, we need to do a crossover week, man. ECG, CFB Nation, let's do a crossover. We had some of us on y'all shows, some of y'all on our shows.
Yeah,
pick a week this week. We just need to pick a week. We shouldn't even announce it. Just pick a week, like, yo, what's going on? Like, y'all just.
It needs to be a game that both of us are very high on, that people are like underrating or something like that. And we just coming in with the fire, like people ain't talking about this game enough. It might be the Texas A&M South Carolina game.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. That's gonna be a real good one. That'll be a damn good one.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been a great one. If you guys just now seen it, roll it back. I'm gonna drop the link for your channel in the description, and I'm gonna also drop all your links to all your social medias and stuff. So yeah, Khalid, he's part of ECG. He said I'm ready to do the collab. That's we're always ready to talk some football, man. So I appreciate you coming through as always, and hopefully you get all the support that you guys deserve over there as well. You guys do a great job of covering college football and football in general. So,
hey man, hey, I respect y'all as well, man. It's been fun, man. We definitely gotta do this again
for sure. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Talk to y'all later.